Good evening, good evening, good evening, or good morning, more like it. And this is Ancient Irish Tales. And today's tale in the Ulster cycle is The Adventures of Nera. The Adventures of Nera, apparently also known in ancient times as the Cattle Raid of Ingen, is one of the wildest tales in early Irish literature. In its present form, unfortunately, it is the result of two unskilled combination parallels accounts of Nera's excursion into the fairy world, hence the confused state of the later part of the text. The scene is laid in Concord, not in Ulster. The story is connected, at least superficially, with the two famous bulls that figure in the cattle raid of Cooley. The compiler was acquainted not only with the central epic, but also with the cattle raid of Ringma. The exile of the sons of Usni, the reference of opening the fairy mounds on Simonius, is a piece of ancient folklore which has come down to the present day. The royal family preparing in the midst of the great hall at Kraken is hanging the captives before the door, and the emphasis upon the terrors of the night are touches of primitive barbarism and superstition which point to iniquity of the traditions underlaying the tale. The Cave of Kraken, known well in Christian tradition as Ireland's gate to hell, was, according to pagan belief, an entrance to fairyland. One Saminel and Mav were in Rathcolchran with their two households. They set about the cooking fire, and two captives had been hanging from them the day before. Then Illo said, he would have put the wreath around the foot of the door earlier than the two captives are on the gallows, shall have a prize from it for me, as he may choose. Great was the darkness of that night, and its horror. The demons would appear on that night always. Each man of them went in turn to try that night, and quickly would come back into the house. I will have the prize from thee, said Nera, and I shall go out. Truly thou shalt have is my gold-hilted sword here, said Illu. Then Nera went towards the captives, and put good armor on him. He put a wreath around the door and put two captives. Thus he sprang it off again. Then the captive said to him that unless he put a proper peg on it, though he be at it till tomorrow, he would not fix it. So Nera put a proper peg on it. Said the captive from the gallows to Nera, it is manly, O Nera. Manly indeed, said Nera. By the truth of your valor, said the captive, take me on thy neck, that I may get a drink. I was very thirsty when I was hanged. Come on my neck then, said Nera. So the captive went on to his neck. Whither shall I carry thee, said Nera. To the house which is nearest to us, said the captive. So they went to that house. Then they saw something, a lake of fire round that house. There is no drink for us in this house, said the captive. Let us therefore go to the other house, which is nearest to us. They went to it and saw the lake of water around it. Do not go into that house, said the captive. There is never washing, nor a bathing tub, nor a spoil pot in it after a night of sleeping. Let us still go on to the other house. Nera let him down at the door. He went into the house, and there were tubs of washing and bathing in it, and a drink in it for both of them. Also a slop pail on the floor of the house. The captive then drank a draught, and hear them settling for the last sip of his lips at his face as people were in the house, so that they all died. Henceforth, It is not good to have either a tub for washing or bathing or a slop pail in the house after sleeping. Thereupon Nera carried the captive back to his torture, and then returned to Kraken. Then he saw something. The stronghold of Kraken seemed to be burnt before him, and he beheld the heaps of heads of his people cut off by the warriors of the fairy mound. He went after the fairy host into the cave of Kraken. "There's a man in our track here," said the last man to Nera. "The heavier is on the track and his comrade to him, and each man said that the word of his mate from the last man to the first man." Thereupon they reached the fairy mound of Kraken and went into it. Then the heads were displayed to the king in the fairy mound. "What shall be done to the man that came with you?" said one of them. "Let him come hither, that I may speak with him," said the king. Then Nera came to him, and the king said to him, "What brought thee with the warriors into the fairy mound?" "I came in company of thine army," said Nera. "Go now to yonder house," said the king. "There is a lone woman there, who will make thee welcome. Tell her it is from me thou art sent to her, and come every day to this house with a load of firewood." Then Nera did as he was told. The woman bade him welcome and said, "Welcome to thee, if it is the king of the fairy folk and sent thee hither." "It is he truly," said Nera. Every day Nera used to go with a burden of firewood to the stronghold of the king. He saw every day a blind man and a lame man on his neck coming out of the stronghold before him. They would go until they were at the break of the well before the stronghold. "It is there," said the blind man. "It is indeed," said the lame one. "Let us go away," said the lame man. Nera then asked the woman about this. "Why do the blind and lame men visit the well?" "They visit the crown which is in the well," said the woman, "namely the diamond crown which the king wears on his head. It is there it is kept." "Why do those two go?" "Not hard to tell, because it is they that are trusted by the king to visit the crown. One of them was blind, and the other lamed." "Come hither a little," said Nera to the woman his wife, "that thou must explain my adventures now." "What has appeared to thee?" said the woman. "Not hard to tell. When I was going into the fairy mound, methinks the fortress of Kraken was destroyed, and Alan with the whole household had fallen in it." "Well, that's not true," said the woman, "but a fairy host comes to thee, where will come true, however, unless thou revisits it to thy friends." "How shall I give warning to my people?" said Nera. "Rise and go to them," she said. "They are still around the same cauldron that is charged and yet been removed from the fire." Yet it had seemed to him 3 days and 3 nights that he had been in the fairy mound. "Tell them to be on their guard next Simonius, unless they came to destroy the fairy mound. For I warned them of this, that the fairy mound must be destroyed by El and Mav, and by the crown of Burr must be carried off by them." These are 3 things which he found there: a mantle of Logard in Armagh, the crown of Brun in Concret, and the shirt of Dallon in Leinster, in Kildare. "How will it be, he believe me not, that have gone into the fairy mound?" said Nera. "Take fruits of the summer with thee," said the woman. So she took wild garlic with him, and primrose, and golden fern. "And I shall be pregnant by thee," she said, "and bear thee a son. Send a message to the fairy mound when thy people are coming to destroy it, that thou mayest take away thy family and thy castle from the fairy mound." Thereupon Nera went with his people and found them around the same cauldron, and related his adventures to them. And then his sword was given to them, and he stayed with his people at the rear end, and it was very near in which Fergus MacRoe came in exile from the land of Ulster to Ellen and Mav at the Kraken. Thy time has come, O Nera, said El to Nera. Arise, and bring thy people and thy castle from the fairy mound, that we may go to destroy it. Then Nera went with his wife to the fairy mound, and while she bade him welcome, arise and go out of the stronghold now, said the woman to Nera, and take a burden of firewood with thee. I've gone to it for a whole year with a burden of firewood on my neck every day in that place, and I sell that wood in sickness, and also thy son yonder. Then he went out into the stronghold and carried a burden of firewood with him around his neck. Welcome alive from the sickness in which thou wast, said the king. I am displeased that the woman should sleep with thee without asking. Thy will shall be done about this, said Nera. It will not be hard for thee, said the king. He went back to his house. Now tend the cows today, said the woman. I gave one of the cows to thy son at once after his birth. So Nera went with his cattle that day. Then, while he was asleep, the Vorgu took his son's cow, and the dawn bull of Cooley bulled her in the east of Cooley. She, the Vorgu, then went westward with her cow. Cuchulainn overtook them in the plain of Mithrin, and as they passed around, it was for the one of Cuchulainn's taboos that even a woman should have his land without knowledge. And was one of his taboos that the bird should feed on his land, and well, lest they left something with him. And it was one of his taboos that fish should remain at the bays unless they were caught by him. It was one of his taboos that the warriors of another tribe should be in his land without his challenging them. Before morning, if they came at night, or before night, if they came by day, every maiden and every single woman that was in Ulster, they were in his ward until they were ordained by their husbands. These are the taboos of Cuchulainn. Cuchulainn overtook the Vorgu with her cow, and he said, this cow must not be taken. Nera went back to his house with his cows the evening. My son's cow is missing, he said. I did not deserve that lass should go and tend the cows in that way, he said. Thereupon the cow returned. I wonder now, whence does the cow come, said Nera. Truly she comes from Cooley after being bulled by Dawn of Cooley, said the woman. Go now, lest thy warriors come, she said. Thou cannot go for a year until Simonius next. They will come on Simonius next from the fairy mounds of Erin. They're always opened about Simonius. Nera went to his people. Whence thou come, said Elil to Mav and Nera. And when thou hast been sent this go from us. I was in far land, said Nera, with the great treasures and precious things, where plenty of garments and food and wonderful treasures. They would have come to slay you on the next Simonius, unless it was revealed to you. We shall certainly go against them, said Elil. So they remained there till the end of the year. And now, thus does anything in the fairy mount, asked Elil to Nera. Bring it away. So Nera went on the third day before Simonius, and brought his dove out of the fairy mount. Now, as a bull calf went to the fairy mount, and that's a calf of the cow of Engren. Engren was the name of his son. It bellowed thrice, and at the same hour till Aaron and Fergus were playing draughts, and they heard the bellowing of the bull calf in the plain. Then Fergus said, I like not the calf, bellowing the pain of Kraken. The son of Don Bull of Colney, which approaches, the young son of the bull of Loch Lig, there will be calves without cows on the branch of Cooley. The king will go to a faithful march, though this calf of Ergen. The bull calf of Whitehorn met the plain of Kraken, and the night and day were there fighting, until at last the bull calf was beaten. Then the bull calf bellowed when it was beaten. What did the calf bellow? Mav asked her cowherd, whose name was Brul. I know that, my good father Fergus, and said Brochu, and it is the strain that thou hast sang us in the morning. On that Fergus glanced aside and struck with his fist at Burger's head, so that 5 men of the draft board were in that hand went to Burger's head, and that was lasting to hurt on him. Tell me, O Brugel, what did the bull say? Said Mav. Truly, it said, answered Brugel, if its father came to help it, that is the Donald of Coley. And the white horn would not be seen in alley, and it would not be beaten. It would be beaten throughout the whole plain of alley on every side. Then Mav, in this manner of oath, I swear by the gods that my people swear, by that I shall not lie down, nor sleep down, or flock bed, nor shall I drink buttermilk, nor nurse my side, nor drink red ale or wine, nor shall I taste food until I see those 2 bulls fighting before my face. Thereafter the men of Conquer and the black host exile went into the fairy mound and destroyed it. They took out what there was, and when they brought away the crown of Burren, it was the 3rd wonderful gift in Erin. The mantle of Logar and the shirt of Donald Lynch and Nera was left with his people in the fairy mound, and has not come out until now, nor will he come until doom.